What's going on, America? This is Kevin from Kevin's Corner, where I try to make sense out of nonsense. And y'all, we back. Deuce. We got Deuce of the great one, Mark Levin, teaming up with Leo the Lion. And they are giving the Democrats the business. And I'm here to sit back, grab some popcorn, and enjoy it. So, with no further ado, let's listen to part 2 of the great one and Leo the Lion.
Now, Leo Terrell, you talk about Black Lives Matter. You also have this Antifa movement. I've looked into the backgrounds of these organizations. They really are Marxist anarchist organizations, much like the Weather Underground of the 1960s. The two co-founders of the Black Lives Matter movement have said they are trained Marxists. They also were supporters of the Bernie Sanders campaign. We don't hear Bernie Sanders speaking out. We don't hear Biden speaking out, Pelosi. We don't hear Schumer speaking out. More to your point, do you think now that this very radical element, which does not represent the vast majority of Americans, does not represent the vast majority of African Americans, they're not up for a vote, they just claim to. Do you think this is a growing element within the Democrat Party? Do you think that's why the leadership of the Democrat Party is giving silent approval, really, to what they're doing?
That's a legitimate question, Mark. And honestly, I think it's a combination of several things. I think it is a way that the Democratic Party can get a group of people to implement what they really want to usher into the United States without being held accountable for it. That's what it is. See, which shields Black Lives Matter from being exposed as the Marxist communists that they are, is because they're black. All you got to do is put black on the front of something and everybody goes, well, we can't criticize them. Democrats do it all the time. They shield themselves of criticism by grabbing a victim or a group of people that everybody is hypersensitive over. For example, when the kids down in Florida, the shooting that took place, all these young kids talking about some gun control, don't know nothing about guns, but they're like, oh, you're just going to criticize this kid? Is that what you're doing? You must hate kids. You must be happy that all those kids were shot. Is that what you're... So everybody fleed away. Or if a female comes out, makes an accusation, back in 1935, he walked past me and he winked on his way to the water cooler and I was hurt and offended. No, nobody was there to see the wink, but I felt it because I knew what that wink meant. It wasn't just because he got a lazy eye and don't have control over his right eye. It was because he really was trying to flirt with me, and I'm concerned, I'm hurting. I held it in for 50 years, but now that he's running for office, I think I need to expose it. Yeah, see, so they will use stuff like that. And when you come out like, what are you talking? That was 50 years ago. Oh, so you're not believing the victim? See, they do stuff like that. Now, you got Black Lives Matter, who done came out and said that they are Marxists. But the left and the funky, nasty, dirty media is not going to ask any Democrat why they're not speaking out against Marxists trying to implement Marxism into our way of life, into our government. They're not going to ask them that. They are doing the bidding of the Democratic Party. And if anybody criticizes them, all they got to do is say, you're not criticizing them because of them being Marxists. You're criticizing them because they're black. See how it works? Let's continue listening to Leo the Lion coming off the bench.
No, Mark, I think Black Lives Matter have dominated social media, but the perception is that they control the Democratic Party. I'm hoping, I'm begging, I'm praying that they don't control the Democratic Party. But the current status right now, it is. It has controlled the Democratic Party. It has muted Democratic leadership. The Democratic leadership is afraid of Black Lives Matter for a variety of reasons. One is the most insulting. They assume they speak for African Americans. Let me be clear. Black Lives Matter does not speak for Leo Terrell.
Yo, that's what I'm talking about. And you know what? Black Lives Matter don't speak for me either. And all these angry black, I guess, social justice warriors, LeBron and commentators on TV. And see, that's a trick. That's another trick of the left and the liberal media, is to create the perception that everybody feels that way. See, what happens is no one wants to be on the side of the minority. Nobody wants to be on the side of people being criticized. Everybody would rather be friends with the bully instead of getting bullied. It's psychological. That's all it is. When you was growing up, if you recognized the bully and he was bullying a whole bunch of kids, you better go ahead and laugh along, encourage the bully through you being complicit or laughing so that the bully don't turn and redirect his attention to you. And so what the media does, along with the Democrats, is they play the psychological game like Trump's way behind in the polls against creepy, sleepy, sloppy, slimy. Doesn't look like he's going to win anything. It's going to be a landslide. Hoping that psychologically messes with people's minds and they start thinking, man, I'm the only one must be feeling this way. But maybe I'm the only one that's voting for Trump. Maybe people are changing their minds. Maybe people are starting to see through Trump and all of his racism and white nationalism. And in reality, they're just throwing out arbitrary numbers. They're doing really biased, polls, things like that. And same thing with this. Instead of them saying, let's take a poll and ask all these black Americans how many of them agree with Black Lives Matter. Instead, let's just tell the audience that everybody agrees with Black Lives Matter. Therefore, even those that don't agree with them will shut their mouth and not say, I don't agree with them. But guess what, y'all? I don't agree with them. And neither does Leo the Lion. Now let's continue.
And there is no representative, there's no monolithic group like Black Lives Matter that speak for African Americans. We are individuals and we have our own individual opinion. I can assure you, those African Americans in these democratic cities, they want law and order. That's the goalpost, police, the goalpost between the criminal and a safe neighborhood. But what Black Lives have done is they have hijacked the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has remained silent, fearing that they will alienate mainstream blacks. Trust me, Democratic leadership, you won't alienate mainstream black voters. But the Black Lives leadership has controlled the platform for the Democratic Party as we speak.
You talked about the fact that Black Lives Matter doesn't seem to care much about Mr. Dorn, who was really murdered in cold blood, a wonderful man by all accounts, and others, by the way, white, black, interracial. They're very, in other words, they push a narrative.
So it appears that Mark Levin sees through it along with Leo the Lion, myself, many of you that's watching my video. They are not about Black lives, ladies and gentlemen. All you got to do is just go to their website and read what they find to be their number one priorities. And it sure enough isn't Black lives, and it ain't black men who are the ones that are really being targeted by the most violence and stuff in the black community, but they don't care nothing about that. And isn't it kind of strange that for some reason they are very selective on what Black Lives Matter? It seems that only black lives killed by white cops matter, because nothing about David Dorn, nothing about the shootings in DC, nothing about all this violence, none of that stuff. What about the brothers who got killed in Chas, Chop, Chip, or whatever they call themselves? Nothing. Whereas the white mayor who chopped the knees out from under the black female that is over the police allowed this stuff to happen. If she would have let the cops be in there, then maybe it wouldn't have happened. But no. 2 black men shot dead. And somebody brought up a good question. They said, most likely the people who shot them, claiming that they're the security of Chop, Chas, Chip, or whatever, most likely could have been a white Antifa kid or something like that. If that's the case, are they going to march? Are they going to yell racism? Are they going to drag that white kid out in front of everybody and say, look at this white nationalist that's with Antifa? No. If anything, they find out the person white and they'll just be like, he was a Trump supporter. Pretty sure I heard him say, this is MAGA country, as he ran off. Let's continue listening to Leo.
You've got going on in our cities today, particularly when you look at cities like Chicago, absolute slaughter taking place. The number of people who are shot, you had one weekend not long ago where over 100 people were shot, 15 people killed, 5 of which were little kids, one of which was a 3-year-old. I don't hear a thing. By the way, I don't hear a thing other than a passing reference by the mainstream media. Oh, look, isn't this horrible? Now back at Trump. or Black Lives Matter. I don't hear people marching about this. I don't even see Sharpton marching about this. This is, I mean, when you look at that little 3-year-old kid who is sitting in the car, or that 13-year-old girl who was sitting watching TV, a bullet went through her neck. A 16 and 17-year-old kids, boys who are out behaving, having a good time, somebody walks up and murders them, and it's like nobody knows their name. It just moves on, and that's the end of it, and let's get back to the cops. I don't understand the mindset of these organizations. Shouldn't you be in these neighborhoods marching for protection? And there are, by the way, there are pastors, there are anti-crime individuals, but their voices aren't heard. It's just this, it's the mob. The mob's voice is heard. What do you think of that?
And ladies and gentlemen, I know you're excited to hear what Leo thinks of that, but you're going to have to hear it in part 3 of Mark Levin and Leo the Lion. I'm going to leave y'all with a cliffhanger, so y'all going to go ahead and click the link. I'm keeping it going and stuff like that. But I pretty much know why they're not saying anything about it. Because that is not the narrative they want to push. Because first of all, it would highlight the fact that these killings are taking place under who? Democratic-ruled cities. Nobody wants to turn that light on and expose all of that filth and dirt and lint and stuff like that. You know, darkness covers up a lot of stuff. See, you ever get dressed in the dark and you get outside and that light hit it and you realize you mismatched? You're like, wow, this doesn't even match. Or you find out you got a ton of lint on your black turtleneck because the light exposes it. And if they were to start talking about what's going on in the black neighborhoods, we would see all that lint on the Democrats that's up here talking about some police brutality and racism. But anyway, that is what it is. So let's go ahead and flip over to part 3 of Leo the Lion. But before you do that, don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe, and the notification button. Make sure you are still subscribing. Your notifications are set to all. Check out Extreme Teas, my sponsor. If you like the products, click the link below. Put Kevin in the promo code. You get a 20% discount. Also, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you want to donate to Kevin and Kevin's Corner, feel free. There's a link below the video to do that. God bless. See y'all next time in Kevin's Corner.